Okay, welcome to another version of the Adams Brothers podcast. I am now joined by Miami-Dade PD Corrector Ramirez. And welcome to the Adams Brothers podcast. And we are based out of Deerfield Beach, Florida. And we welcome you on our podcast today. And we hope to have a good discussion with you today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to speak about these important topics with you today.
Okay, Director Ramirez, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your rise to where you are right now, so the people that in other counties like Broward County can understand and know who you are?
Absolutely. I've been honored to serve the Miami-Dade Police Department for 26 years. Throughout my 26-year career, I've worked in different components of the department, from patrol to investigations. I rose up through the ranks. I did every rank in this department, from sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, chief, assistant director, deputy director, and now director. And I supervise all the different services of our department. The Miami-Dade Police Department is the 8th largest police department in the United States. We have roughly 3,150 sworn officers and another 1,500 non-sworn. And we serve a community that's nearly 2.9 million residents, alongside 37 other municipalities. And we're a very diverse department, very diverse community.
Okay, that is a very good resume that you have, and a very good climb to the top that you made. I'm joined now by my brother Daryl Adams of the other half of the Adams Brothers podcast.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No worries, sir. Nice to see you.
How you doing?
So,
all right.
We have been watching on the news, Director Ramirez, a rash of shootings going on in Miami-Dade. And we would like for you to just tell us a little bit about what's going on and bring the people who don't know up to speed.
Absolutely. Yes, we've had some challenging times the last 2 weeks, reflective to what you're seeing around the country in terms of, the gun violence and a lot of, dynamic type situations that are really jarring to the soul. Typically here in Miami-Dade County, our murder rates are not like other cities that are of the same size as ours. We're like, right now we're at 55 murders. Other cities, unfortunately, that are in the hundreds and don't have a good relationship with the community. We're fortunately here in Miami-Dade County, we have a great relationship with our community. Right now, what we're experiencing is, I believe it's we're coming out of COVID. People are just coming out of the street. There's a lot of pent up anxiety and anger, a lot of issues with social media, a lot of what I would call cyberbullying or hazing with our youth. Some of our, what we call here hybrid gangs, are beefing on social media, making certain songs with trigger words that are inciting other folks. And what's happening is that you're having these brazen gun violence event in areas where there's a lot of people gathered, which is the other byproduct from COVID. A lot of these businesses are trying to recoup their revenue. So what they're doing is, after hours, they're changing their portfolio from being a restaurant or a pool hall, and then becoming a place where youth can gather and have these illegal parties. During those parties, people are using social media, saying things, showing things, and what's happening is causing violent responses and then violent retaliations. So this is unlike a typical gun violence situation, which would be like a turf war type situation. This is definitely different. I believe it stems from our environment right now as a country, what we're going through.
Okay, hi, Director Ramirez. I'm Daryl Adams from the Adams Brothers podcast. And I have a question. My question for you is, for the people that would like to call in tips to Crime Stoppers, and there's an old saying in the hood that snitches get stitches. I'm sure you've heard that before. And a lot of people out there may be wanting to call in and give some tips, but they are afraid. What is the proper protocol for calling in tips to Crime Stoppers, and how do you collect the reward money? Does a conviction have to be, does the suspect have to be convicted? Tell the people how they could call in the tips to Crime Stoppers and how they could get that reward money.
Absolutely. That's a critical part in keeping our community safe. What we have is Crime Stoppers, which is 305-471-TIPS, which is completely anonymous and is a separate entity from the police department. When you call in with the tip, they will never ask you your name or where you live. You're issued a number. And you have to be the one to call to find out the status of your number. We'll never know who you are. And you will collect your rewards if an arrest is made, not conviction, an arrest is made. And I can assure you that that is completely anonymous, Crime Stoppers. That is the most important component for the community to be involved and help us, because it takes all of us to keep our community safe.
Well, we definitely want to get that word out there for the people that may be out watching the news on TV or may watch this podcast and they want to call in and say, hey, I know who this person is. And if you arrest one person, maybe that person will tell on the other person. So, you may have people out there that want to call in and they are afraid. So that was a critical question that I wanted to put out there. And you also answered the question that you don't have to be convicted also, correct?
Right, it's just an arrest. It leads to an arrest and then the rewards will be dispersed.
Okay. Are there any new leads on the recent shootings down in Miami-Dade County? And do you expect to make an arrest soon?
I can't get too far into the cases. I can tell you that our homicide detectives are working really hard on the case. I know that the community has provided us with a lot of information through Crime Stoppers. We're building our cases. On one of the cases, we made some arrests for some linear crimes that were committed on the shooting. That would be the one that was at the Hookah Lounge. They're working really hard day in and night to bring closure and justice to the families due to these heinous criminal acts that we've experienced the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just another question, do you have community policing down in Miami-Dade County or within the Miami-Dade Police Department? And the reason I ask you this is because community policing is very important. If you develop a rapport with the people out there in the community, they will be more inclined to talk to the officers when they ride through in the cruisers and call them off to the side or meet them somewhere, even if it's not in Miami-Dade County, and give them a tip. So my question is, again, do you have community policing down in Miami-Dade County or within your department?
Absolutely. That is the foundation of our patrol strategies. Even in our investigative components, we have a community outreach component. We have a community affairs bureau. Each police district has a neighborhood resource unit, which is a community policing type patrol into our communities. That's why here we don't have the issues that you see around the country. We work hard each and every day to maintain that trust with our community and that dialogue. We have our CAC meetings, our CRB, which is our Community Relations Board, and we definitely reach out and talk to our folks. It's very important, and we police the way our community wants us to police, expects us to police, and that's what we do.
And that's good, and that's good. And as a follow-up, are they required to get out of their police cruisers so many hours a week or a month? Is there a certain criteria that you have for community policing, getting out of the cruisers? We know it's hot and they like to sit in that AC and ride around. Do you require your police officers to get out of the cruisers so many hours a week, a day, a month?
Well, they have a large call volume for service, but we do expect our officers to interact with our community. Even if they go up to the coffee stand and get a bit of Cuban coffee, I expect them to have dialogue with our community and speak to them. I want them to be human. I don't want them to be robotic behind the shield. And they're not. We're a very young department, and the very bright men and women that work this department that are dedicated in serving this community and really care. And that's what we foster here in this department.
Thank you, sir. Mike?
Okay, Director Ramirez, the kids are out for the summer right now. Is there a contingency plan to further stop the violence?
Absolutely. In fact, we have a large initiative that was spearheaded by our mayor, Daniel Cava. It's called a Peace and Prosperity Plan. It has three components. The first component right now that we've really had to beef up because of what we've been seeing is we have a proactive and a high visibility component for the police. What we want to do is get these individuals who are committing these heinous acts and put them in jail, get these illegal guns off the street that's affecting our children. We also have a community component, a parks integration program, a mentoring program. We also have enriching our community as well with resources because they're coming out of COVID. It's a multi-layered plan, and it's all, boots on the ground, human interaction, saving our children, not letting our children fall susceptible to the terrible, downward spiral of violence. Our PAL programs, big emphasis on the parks connection. That's what we're doing. It's multi-pronged, and it involves a lot of community engagement to stop this rising tide of violence.
Okay. You have a gun bounty program, and I just want to ask this question, Director Ramirez. Do you think people will be more inclined to turn their guns in now after seeing all this violence in Miami-Dade County? And also, do a second part question, explain the gun bounty program to the viewers.
Well, in terms of the gun bounty program, that is another part of the Crime Stoppers program, where if you call in a tip anonymously of someone who's using a firearm in an illegal manner, the basic motto is one tip, one arrest, $1,000. And we've had this program since 2007. We've seized a lot of guns through our community, calling out violent felons who are in possession of a firearm or in a process to commit a crime. And that's their way of helping to shepherd their communities. And we follow up on those tips anonymously, and it leads to an arrest. It's $1,000, and it's a great program, a great vehicle for the community to be involved in this struggle.
Okay, and I know, and this other part of the question was, do you think, I know what the gun bounty program details now, but do you think a lot of people will be inclined to, like in the past, I've seen in other states, people that longtime gun owners turn their guns in. Do you think now with the rise in violence that people will be more inclined to turn their legal guns in right now?
I think that's a mixed response to that. It depends. There are people that are in fear that may not want to relinquish, because here in the state of Florida, they have that right. And there's others who may have guns laying around that they don't want their kids or someone to get their hands on it. They don't have no use for it. They'd probably be more likely to turn in the gun so that it doesn't become an instrument for violence in the future, because they're no longer paying attention to it and they have no needs for it. So that's where those gun buyback programs come into play. They're very helpful for us.
Okay, and also, Director Ramirez, do you think placing more mini substations in the community? I mean, I don't know, do you have that now? I know here in Broward County, placing mini substations within the crime-ridden areas has helped tremendously here. And are you currently doing that right now in Miami-Dade County, or planning on deploying more?
We're planning on doing that. Obviously, COVID really put a big damper on those initiatives. We're always willing. A lot of community developments are always offering us a space in their developments for officers to be there to do their reports, to encourage that walking around the complex. And we'll be looking to expand that component. We've had it in the past, and we're looking now to expand on that in the future.
Director Ramirez, we're not in Miami-Dade County. We're up in Broward County. And obviously, we care about what's going on down in Broward County. And we want to do all we can do to help you all solve those senseless crimes and the shootings, and then stop the gun violence down there. What would you like to tell the people out there watching this podcast right now? I mean, just whatever, what would you like to tell them?
Absolutely. What I could tell them is that these bad actors don't believe in jurisdictions. We've come into instances where a lot of these shooters, they go cross county, they go from the north end of the county, south end, to end up in Broward or other parts. So, it's important that all of us, especially here in South Florida, you see something suspicious, you pick up something on social media that looks like it could lead into violence, to call it into your local police department and let us know so we can curb that violence and stop it before we have another tragedy because a lot of these instances are manifesting themselves on social media. And, our kids are on social media all day long, and something bad comes along, say something. If it's Dade County, Monroe County, or Broward, it's all our responsibility to keep our community safe.
Absolutely.
Okay, and Director Ramirez, you mentioned social media just now. What are social media platforms doing to help stem the rise of violence by individuals using their platforms to incite beef and everything else that's going on social media? What are the platforms? Are y'all working in conjunction with the platforms to stop or
a lot
censor?
of platforms are closed source type situations. I know that they have their own policing components, but a lot of these informations that come out are they're encrypted in a sense. When they're saying these words or calling out stuff, it's not being said in like plain speak. It's just little signals that another group will know what that means, or they'll show up in a corner and not really say it, but imply it. But it's good enough for those on the other end to know that they're sending them a message. So it's very difficult to police that, and that's why and I don't know if those social media companies really pick up on that component, but that's why us as end users, it comes across us, gotta send it forward so we can at least make contact with the parents or to that home and flag it and try to have a conversation or wherever it goes, but to prevent further violence.
Okay. And also, how useful has the spot shotter been as far as response time to responding to gun violence?
Oh yeah, it's a shot spotter is a great tool for us. We have a large deployment of that in our areas where we're experiencing the most gun violence. What I could tell you is that our officers respond before it's even called via our dispatch. Our officers are notified through their laptops, through our cell phones. I mean, we've gotten there within seconds of it happening. Because unfortunately, as you see, some of these shootings happen within seconds. We're able to identify the casings on the scene. We can recover them, put them into our lab system, and track and trace those firearms where they've been. They're a very useful tool, and they help us with our tactical deployments and our community deployments where we're experiencing gun violence.
Okay, so as far as the spot shotter, because we tried to get that spot shotter technology. I know the Broward Sheriff Office and Sheriff Greg Toney has deployed the spot shotter around parts of Broward County. And here in Deerfield Beach, where we're located, they were going to commissioners, and the mail was going back and forth as far as the technology and do the technology work. So can you say to our mayor and commissioners, the technology works and it's not a waste of taxpayers' money?
For us here in Miami-Dade County, it's a big part of keeping our community safe. In fact, we're expanding it again. In the last commission meeting, we're going to expand it some more. I think it's a great tool, and we're going to overlay it with some technologies and some analyticals as well that can really help, leverage the technology and help our responding officers even be quicker and help us also in the back end with investigations. So it's a great tool for us here in Dade County.
Okay, and Director Ramirez, has the state and federal government, without going into too many specifics, offer resources to help combat this rise of crime in Miami-Dade County?
Absolutely. I had a meeting just last week with George Pirro, who's a SAC of the FBI here in this region. I also met with the ATF SAC. Troy Walker, FDLE, speaks to me almost every day, offering, they already work with us in our task forces and different mechanisms. They've poured other resources into this community. This community means a lot to them. And here, our whole law enforcement community, even with our municipalities, we work together as one, as brothers and sisters, and we got a great relationship, and I'm very thankful for their assistance.
Okay, well, we've been talking to the director of the Miami-Dade Police Department, Mr. Alfredo Ramirez III. He is the director of the Miami-Dade Police Department. We want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come by and stop by and talk to the Adams Brothers podcast. We really appreciate you stopping by and talking to us, and we hope that our viewers and that watch this podcast well, someone will call in and give you a tip and help you solve some of those senseless crimes down there in Miami-Dade County. And we wish you and your officers the best down there. You all stay safe and come back and talk to us here on our Adams Brothers podcast. You're always welcome to come back here, sir.
You're a friend of the podcast now.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm honored. It's an honor to speak with you. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for your great thoughts. And likewise to you, gentlemen. Thank you for what you do.
Director Ramirez, Miami-Dade Police Department. Thank you and have a great evening, sir.
You too.
I'm gonna mute it for all.